This is Razer's latest option for esports gamers. This is the Huntsman V3 Pro Mini, and it has a couple of additional features that you just can't see when you're looking at it to give you a bigger competitive advantage when you're playing esports titles. So Valorant, Counter-Strike, Fortnite, or the only esports game I play, Marvel Rivals. And I don't play a lot of it, just play enough, and it's fun. Play it with my son, he's pretty young, and we both suck, but we have a lot of fun playing it, and that's the game I used to test this keyboard the most. And I also test it just like typing around and doing things like that. Okay, so what you need to know is that this is a very light and pretty thin keyboard with a plastic build. It feels good. Like if you told me the top plate was metal, or aluminum rather, I would believe you. But overall, the lightweight design means that they can't really put a bunch of aluminum on this. The lighting is phenomenal. If you go into the Razer Synapse software, you can change the lighting effects. You can have like a ripple effect with different colors, right? There, it just caught up pretty quickly. Or spectrum cycling. You've probably seen these before. You can adjust the amount of brightness as well. Personally, I just like to keep it on static because I'm lame. But I like the way this looks. I love how this is white, and there's a bit of an underglow, like a halo effect going on, and then the brightness just shines through not only the primary function, but also the shift function. It just looks so good. Now, speaking of functions, if you look really closely on the front of the keys, there are additional functions like page up and page down, all of the function buttons like F1 through F12 and delete, the arrow keys, but you have to press the function key itself to activate those. The keyboard has a very thin, minimal design, the Razer logo in the front, nothing on the sides, but you'll notice it is a wedged design. If you need additional angling, you can use these feet right here, 6 and 9 degrees. I like to keep mine at 9 degrees. And it's wired only, so you have this included braided USB-C cable. It plugs right in, color matching, very cool. So with the basics covered, we need to talk about, well, actually, we didn't quite handle the basics. So the keys themselves are not of the Cherry MX mechanical flavor. This is Razer's analog optical switch, and it's the second generation of such. Now, what this means is that for actuation of the keys, and this is going to be relevant even furthermore in a moment when I talk about the key features, instead of using the physical pressing of the button to actuate the keys, it uses the light. So there's an infrared light that's beaming through, and that's detected by a sensor, and then it sends a signal to the computer. And what that means is, if you go into the Razer Synapse software and you click on actuation, you can actually adjust the actuation point. So if I click on select all keys, I go down to actuation, I have a range of 0.1 to 4.0 that I can adjust from. All right, so check this out. Take a close look at this meter here. If I just gently press on the key, you're going to notice, pick a different key. As I press on the button, you see how it's highlighting, right? So red indicating that with this much travel, which is about 2 millimeters, it's not going to actuate the key. As soon as I hit 2 millimeters, it will actuate. And of course, I can click further than that. Now, if you want more actuation, you just move the dial up to 4 millimeters. If you want less and you're crazy fast, and you do it at 0.1. So I never really found a setting that I liked more than others just because I'm not that fast. I used to be, but not anymore. Now, that's one of the key features that you just can't visibly see. The other is the snap tap technology. So what this will do is when you're strafing, for example, and you're holding down A, and then you want to go quickly, you're going left by pressing A, you want to quickly go right by pressing D. Now, if you don't have this enabled, and you don't have it assigned to the A and D keys, then there could be a couple things that happen. One, there could be a lag in the actual input, or instead of registering the D when you're holding the A, it'll just, you're tapping D and the system is just sending an A signal. And it depends on the keyboard that you use, but that's pretty common. So instead, with Snap Tap, you're holding A, you press D, D gets registered, right? So it allows you to move more quickly left and right, which of course could give you an advantage when you're playing an esports game. Another is rapid trigger mode, and this is for like counter strafing. You can turn this on, and then you can adjust the upward and the downward sensitivity of the keys. So keep that in mind. And then there's a continuous rapid trigger that you can also enable. So if you're constantly using the same keystrokes over and over and over again, then something like this, rapid trigger, could be valuable to you. All right, so what I'd like to do next is give you a sound test of the keys. And I've had the pleasure of testing a bunch of other 60%-ish keyboards lately. Oh, I screwed something up. Here we go. All right, so this one on the bottom, this is the EpoMaker P65. It is about a 60% keyboard. It has this fancy dial and dedicated keys for arrows and up, down, and delete. But it's heavier, much heavier than the Huntsman. And so that, therefore, it's just not as portable. And it doesn't have any of those features that I just shared with you. Plus, they are mechanical switches. These are Cherry MX switches, I believe. These are Cherries. Okay, so let's just do a typing test. First, the Razer. And then the EpoMaker. So as you can hear, way more hollow, not quite as snappy on the EpoMaker. That's not bad. It just depends on what you're looking for in a keyboard. Okay. Here is the EpoMaker Hack 59. First the Razer, and then the Epo. More snappy, not hollow like the P65. And again, doesn't have those features. And you know, the lighting is just nowhere near as robust as you get on the Razer. Okay, so final comments on this keyboard. I have to tell you, I love the way it looks. I love the white. I think Razer needs more white products like their original ProClick mouse and the ProClick Mini. I know they've made some others too, but it's just great to see a flagship esports keyboard launch with a white, because the way they have such great brightness in these keys. I know it's kind of like superficial, but I just think it looks really cool. Now, again, I'm not a competitive esports player. If you are, then to me, it sounds like these features would give you an advantage. And you know, having tested it, again, can't really test it to as large a degree as a younger, more agile player. It does make sense to me that you would have that type of feature, that type of benefit. So thanks to Razer for sending it over. Again, $180. There'll be a non-monetized link in the description, so you get a chance to purchase it if you want to, and there's no benefit to me other than maybe Razer says thanks, but there's no money or anything like that exchanged. And I'd love to hear from you. Like, what do you think of this keyboard? What questions do you have? I can always do a follow-up. And yeah, thank you for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.